So, first question I want to start off with is anytime we hear the conversation of like drugs coming up, right? It's that yearning that he talked about, of that feeling of never being satisfied. You know, he started out doing one drug and then it ended up not being enough, so he just kept going and going until he sank lower and lower and lower. So, I wanted to know from you, do you identify with that feeling of always wanting and needing more? Did you struggle with being satisfied before you went to prison?
I did. It's a great question, and I did. And it was for me. It was the money chase. Like, you know, when you start off, at least when I started off hustling, I had little mini goals in my mind where, you know, you think, oh, if I could make, you know, I started off hustling when I was 13 years old, so you might start thinking if I could make, you know, I just throwing up about $1,000 at 13. You make that? No. Okay. Well, if I can make 10,000.
How quick was that though?
It was quick. It was fast. And then you start thinking, you get, you know, I remember having a benchmark of 100,000. You know, if I can make that, I'll be set. And I'll stop.
That's what you told yourself.
Yo, I got to 100,000 so fast. The next goal was, okay, now you want to make $250,000. That's done. $500,000. Done. $1 million. And it's an insatiable appetite to continue to make more and more and more. So yeah, I mean, I've had serious addictions. I've had a money addiction. I've had a sex addiction. You know, probably I was addicted to weed at one point. I mean, I just smoked so much weed. I was just smoking all the time. I think a lot of people had that. Like, I be like, you know, listen, there's young people that I know that smoke a lot. I just say that, and I'm like, yo, how much do you really need? You just smoked a blunt or a spliff so big, like there's no way in the world that you could not be high. And 30 minutes later, they rolling more to smoke more. So I think that's how it is with different addictions. It's just the inability to be able to have a craving met or fulfilled. You just keep wanting more and more and more and more and more. And you got to be careful with things like that, because if something is not able to be satisfied, you're just going to keep chasing it.
Like he was saying, you just keep sinking deeper and deeper. And so I want to ask a question then, stemming from that. What was your butt naked moment?
My butt naked moment was when was when I was in a house. I was in an apartment. I was in West Virginia, and I knew that law enforcement was involved because we ran up into my man's apartment because I knew that they had grabbed him, and so we locked the door and you know, they was banging on the door. I knew it was the police. They said, you know, when they said they were saying, open the door. And I said, if you don't have a warrant, we're not opening the door. And they said, this is the DEA, open the door. And when you hear those 3 letters, you know, there's just something different about it. Just hits differently when you hear them letters of the alphabet, because you already know. Like I had never had any, you know, I had confrontations with law enforcement before, but that just never scared me. I was just always thinking, that's just local police. I ain't worried about them. They can't, you know, we get an attorney good enough, we can buy that case. But when you hear DEA, you know it's federal. When you hear them alphabet boys, it hits differently. So, I mean, that's what I think of right off top.
Any follow-up though? Okay. So, I just had a crazy thought. Those are the real alphabet people to be afraid of. That's another conversation. We're trying to get canceled.
You had a crazy thought. Wow. What was it? Give you a penny for your thoughts.
No, that was it. Like, you know, Dave Chappelle talk about like the alphabet people, but talking about the gay community.
Oh,
the
right.
real
Right.
alphabet people coming for you is the DEAs and the FBIs and the.
That's right. That's right. When them alphabet boys come after you, like I like to say, or I have said before when speaking to other people, especially to you, yo, when they got you, they got you.
So my next question for you, I really enjoyed this conversation that you and Chef Matthews had, because there was a lot of talk about accountability and honor and consistency and respect. So it got me thinking, how did you gain respect, like within the confines of a prison? How were those things displayed? And start with respect. How did you gain respect in prison?
I think, well, you know, like they say, stand on it. Number one, I went to trial, and I had people that I could have told on. You know, nobody on my case got in trouble like because of me. You know, I had countless number of people I could have got out. I didn't have to do no time, not even one day. So that's one level. And I think the next level was just being in the law library all the time. And at one point I just became the go-to person for people that needed help with their case, if they was looking for advice, if they wanted to gain some type of better understanding about their case, if they wanted to know how to write briefs, how to research their case. I was one of the few people, I guess you would call it, well, this is what they call it, like a jailhouse lawyer, and I became that dude, and that was partially one of the reasons why they started calling me Obama, because I was serious about that law work and I was good at it, so it wasn't about, like where, I had to be no tough guy. Like when you're in prison, in federal prison, if you got a certain type of expertise, people are going to respect you for that. Certain people in there worked in the kitchen, they could cook. Or if they didn't work in the kitchen, they could cook. So people coming to them to cook them dishes. Like they making, incredible tasting food in the microwave. So, if you was able to do that, people come to you for that. If you was able to draw, people come to you to draw them some artwork that they can send home to the loved ones, to their children, or to their lady. There's certain dudes that can make certain type of things when they was in prison. Like the Spanish boys a lot of times, the cats from Dominican Republic, I remember specifically, or the Cuban boys, those dudes will make, they can make certain things out of crochet. And they can make lingerie out of crochet. So you sending home lingerie to your lady that they done made in federal prison, and it's like they never even seen anything like that before. You don't even see, and it was, sexy lingerie. So that was just an example. For me, it was law work. If you needed help with your law work, you was gonna come to me. In many instances, I mean, there was other cats too, but I was one of those cats, and I was good at it. So when you can help somebody else out, and they realize you have a unique skill set, that commands a certain level of respect. 100% of the time. I talk to cats for hours about their case. We go right to the law library. I'm showing how to use the, we had research tools in there. Like you couldn't be on the internet, but we did have a legal law library that was online. We had Lexis, and
Okay, so there's a few different parts to this question about the whole conversation about accountability, honor, consistency, respect. So aside from the charges that you receive that get you put into prison, is there a culture of accountability in prison, like once you're behind bars, so to speak?
There is. It's a culture. It's absolutely a culture of accountability, and those things normally lie in debts or money. Like you don't gamble if you can't pay it back when you lose. You don't borrow if you can't pay it back. So yeah, that was and like even things coming down to like the TV room. Like, you have certain spaces in the TV room where you establish that that's your space, that's what you sit in, that's where your chairs. You don't sit in somebody else's seat. I mean, but that type of accountability was rooted in that's the battle of, that's just the will to survive. Like that was rooted in violence. Like something was gonna happen to you if you got a gambling debt and you couldn't pay it back. Something was probably gonna happen to you. If you being disrespectful when someone is watching the TV, you might just try and change the channel with somebody that's already established and they watch this at a certain time every day, all the time. You don't mess with the TV. If somebody's watching something, you don't stand in front of the TV.
It's like an immediate consequence that follows.
It's an immediate consequence. You're not gonna borrow money from someone. You're not gonna pay it back. In prison, you quickly learn that the weakest might be the strongest. Like it don't matter. It could be the littlest guy. It could be the smallest person in there. You can get stabbed in your neck, just because you're big and you might disrespect somebody or take that person for granted. But you never know what that person is going through. You never know what that person been through. And, somebody can plot on you for months, seeing you every single day, thinking about how they're going to get you and how they're going to catch you slipping. And, so that happens. That element is there. You might think that you're going to just take advantage of someone. I mean, and that happens too. People do get taken advantage of. But a lot of times the biggest person, they can fall to the smallest person, because the person they're gonna do what they got to do to get to earn their respect.
So would you say that prison does a good job of instilling accountability into returning citizens? So is that something that translates into the world, like once they're released?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you asked that question also, because it's something that I left out. It doesn't even have to be with the inmates. It's with the whole prison system, and the COs all the way up to the United States military. I like to say, you might be and I wasn't always at a minimum security. I didn't start off in a minimum security, but I ended up in a minimum security. So people take that for granted sometimes and think, oh, it's only a minimum security. This ain't real. A lot of them cats that was at a minimum security started off in a penitentiary. And one thing that my homie used to say, Robert Gibson, he used to say, this might be minimum security, but it could turn into a penitentiary real fast. And by that he means it's just like the whole standing up for count. When you're in federal prison, you're gonna stand up for count. I wouldn't care how old you are, unless you physically cannot stand, you're gonna stand. You're gonna stand, you're gonna be respectful, you're gonna be quiet. You're not gonna say a word, you're gonna be able to hear a pin drop. When they come around and they doing that count, when I say they, them people, the COs. And if one person is talking or out of line doing that count, doing the many different various times that they doing that count, one person is out of line, they're gonna stop the whole count. Everybody gotta get it. They're gonna remove that person, or that person is gonna submit. He's gonna get penalized for it if he doesn't stop what he's doing immediately. Ain't no talking, laughing, joking. You looking straight ahead and you're gonna submit to that count. And if you don't, they're gonna remove you. You're gonna be taken off of the compound. You're gonna be punished severely, and they're gonna start the whole count over. And if you do something other, not dealing with count, where you do something, you can get the whole compound punished. So then, if you're not getting dealt with by the lieutenants or by the by the administration, you're gonna get dealt with by the staff. So you're gonna get dealt with by the other inmates. So for instance, if contraband was brought onto the compound, they're about to do a shakedown. They want to find that contraband. They want to know, how did it get there? What happened? A lot of times people get told on because the staff will take away privileges. They could take away the TV. They could take away from everyone the whole compound. So what happens is people start dropping kites. Dropping a kite is someone is going to slip a note under the lieutenant's office that's going to say, this person bought it or that person bought it, because now you done messed up and you done got the whole compound punished. And so that type of accountability happens all the time, either by the inmates or by, either by the fellow inmates or either by the staff. You're going to be accountable for your actions, period.
So, did you have something? Okay. So outside of the charges again, so like what did you have to take accountability for while you were incarcerated and then after, outside of the charges? Like, was there a personal, I guess, what am I asking? Like, in your mind, was there something that led you to that incarceration that you finally had to face once you were there?
Absolutely. It was my actions. I had to take its responsibility for my actions, for doing illicit activity. And, I was extremely angry. I was mad at the world. I mean, I was plotting on, no, once I got in. The sentence that I received, I wanted to feel like, and I still feel, it was an unjust sentence. I was in for marijuana. I got 12 and a half years. I felt like I shouldn't have got this amount of time. Obviously, in the federal system, they punish you for going to trial. If you lose, they're going to give you way more time than you would have got if you would have pled out, because, their theory is that you need to accept the responsibility, accept responsibility for your actions, for breaking the law. Come forward. Don't cost the state or the government wasted funds and time and resources in order to try to convict you. So when you don't do that, they give you way more time. So with that, I was mad. I was mad at the people that testified against me. I wanted to get them back. I was mad at the world. I was mad at the government for bringing the charges. And with that, I was miserable within my own self. And when I was able to just really understand that, yes, I did get a lot of time. Yes, I don't think they should be locking people up for marijuana, but at the same time, I did it to myself. So when I was able to take that accountability, it was like a load lifted off of my shoulders, because no matter what the law was, I knew that I was breaking the law. Like, I had to come to grips with the idea that I am in here because of me. Yes, I'm in here because of the people. Well, partly, maybe they wouldn't have caught me, they wouldn't have been able to convict me if people didn't testify against me. But at the same time, they would, like, they had something to testify with. Like, I was doing this. I'm not one of the people that is going to tell you that I was falsely accused. There are people in there, without a doubt, that are literally falsely accused, like literally and actually innocent. That wasn't me. And my experience is, and I met a lot of people when I was in prison, I know that they exist. So don't take this the wrong way. I never met anybody that I was in prison with. Not one person that was not doing what they was accused of. Most of the time, they get it right. Even if it might get exaggerated, people might tell on you and you might get more time. Maybe you wasn't really a leader, organizer. You were doing, everybody I met was doing exactly what the federal government said they would do. I never met an innocent person in prison. It just didn't happen. So to that extent, you got to take accountability. You can be mad, for those out there, a lot of times when, if your wife ends up leaving, or maybe if your wife, was hurt or angered by a lot of the things that we was doing. In most cases, especially me as men, a lot of us wasn't really being the best husband or the best father when we was out there. So, that's something else that I had to take responsibility of, is the fact that, I just wasn't, I took a lot of things for granted when I was on the street. And that's something that I had to just come to grips with when I was actually in prison. That I was taking the time, my time, and my family's time, and my use of my time, and how I spent it with them, and who I chose to spend my time with when I was on the street. So yeah, those are some of the things that I took accountability of after being down for a couple of years, and those made me a better person to this day. And I was forced to do those things, just by being locked up. I mean, I read this book by Sidney Poitier called The Measure of a Man. And in that book, Sidney Poitier talks about the way that you want to be viewed, the way that you want to be remembered when you're gone. And so, I just say I did a lot of thinking on that. And, it helped me be the man that I am today, I believe.
I got one.
That was a lot.
It's all good info. Something that I thought we talked about today that I haven't heard you mention too many times is therapy. So if people are out there, we heard Chef Dwayne Matthews talk about finding the right fit as a therapist. Do you have any insight on the importance of therapy, and can you encourage some of our listeners what to think about or what to look for, or how they could, get into that if they need help?
Yeah, I do. I think I don't want to make a blanket statement and say that everyone needs therapy, but I believe that, number one, there's nothing wrong with therapy. I believe a lot of us often need help. A lot of us are feeling some type of pain or have been through something. We're humans. And to go through things and to experience things and to feel pain is human. And if you're feeling pain and you need someone or want someone to talk to, I think that there's an appropriate setting for it. There's nothing wrong with talking to the people that's closest to you, but sometimes those same people could take it and turn it back around to you and use it against you, especially when you're in relationships. So you got to be careful on who you reveal things to. Some of us want to be guarded, or we think that maybe it's not cool. But I'll tell you what's even more not cool is dealing with things and struggling with pain that you have no outlet for. I think that there's an appropriate place and a time to be able to talk to someone that is objective and someone that has been trained for that. So if you're struggling, if you're feeling some type of pain, I actually think that it takes strength, not weakness, to reach out to a trained profession that can help you. So while everyone may not need it, therapy, I believe that most people can benefit from it. So it in no way makes you weak. I think when you face the pain that you may be dealing with, some of the things that may have been in your past or your present, some of the situations that you may find yourself in, I think it's exercising an enormous amount of strength to be able to face those things by seeking help and going and looking for someone that you can talk to in a professional setting by someone that is trained to do that. So I would encourage, not discourage, anyone that feels that, I feel like I need an outlet. I need a release. And I'd say, check it out. Talk to someone. You never know. It might just help. With that, once again, I appreciate you for tuning in. We appreciate you for listening. Make sure that you follow, like, comment, and subscribe. And you know where to find us. So tell someone about us. We represent the real. We only bring in realness. Real recognize real. INNOUTWW by Eric Geralt. In and Out Podcast by Eric Geralt. Appreciate you for tuning in. And now I'm out. Peace.